What's up, guys? Ryan Satin here with ProWrestlingSheet.com for our SmackDown recap. No, Roca has not changed colors over here. You don't need to adjust. You don't need to adjust your computer screens, even though that's not really a thing that you can do anymore. But we're here with Vinnie Mancuso from Collider. Thanks for stepping in for Roca today.
I am so happy to be here. Everybody else went to Comic-Con, and I was like, I'm staying, and I'm talking SmackDown. That's where the money is. It's SmackDown Live.
Yeah, when Roca said he couldn't be here, I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, Vinnie. But then, because Vinnie's the only other person really here besides Christian in the office who watches wrestling, and Christian's filming Collider Live. So my first thought was to go to Vinnie, but his boss sometimes doesn't like when he
doesn't respect it as an art form.
Gets involved in the wrestling activities
He's
here.
been gone for like a day, and I was like, let's go. Let's talk some wrestling. Let's talk what happened on SmackDown. Yeah,
well, let's just do this before he finds out.
Yeah,
so,
he's going to come back, and I'm going to be fired.
He's going to come walk around. Vinnie, you're fired. But Vinnie is also a huge wrestling fan, lifelong wrestling fan. We talk wrestling in the office all the time together, so I'm excited that we finally got him in here for this. So let's see. SmackDown started. By the way, Roca usually he has notes and stuff like that. I didn't have time to make notes, so I'm looking at the recap from ProWrestling.net. I'm a big fan of their website, so shout out to Jason Powell. That's who. I just don't want to look like I'm like reading his words like they're my own. They're not notes I did. These are Jason Powell's. But just as a sheet to run down here.
I have no notes going off the top of the head.
No, good.
Attitude era style.
Yeah, you had your coffee.
Points.
You're good this morning.
Points. Yeah, we're good.
So it started off with Shane McMahon. Kevin Owens is walking in the door. Shane McMahon stops him there with security. And I could have sworn one of those security guards was that jobber from Raw back in the day. Not back in the day. From Raw a few years ago when they first brought enhancement talent back, and he had all those weird comments that he said before Braun Strowman beat him up.
Who said he likes big sweaty men.
Yeah, that guy.
Why wouldn't you bring him back? He was so good at his role.
He was better than Ellsworth.
Well, I mean.
Well, at least now we can say that.
I was going to say, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like enhancement talent like that, like if they do their job well and they don't get in the way, they don't, make it about themselves, why not bring them back? Dude, it's a nice little gig for them.
This is why Vinnie and I talk wrestling so much in the office here, because Roca's like so anti enhancement talent, and I'm always like, no, if it's done right and it helps people get things over, like, no, it's good. It helps build people up. I
feel like wrestling needs more enhancement talent. I mean, I one of the worst things about modern WWE is they have people like full-time roster people that they just bring out every couple of months just to get their asses kicked.
Yeah.
And it's like, why don't you just hire a scrawny little man from the local dependent scene, have them come out, Braun Strowman powerbombs them, and then that's it. I
feel the same way. It's like, why would you turn your full-time roster into jobbers? Why would you hire guys to be jobbers? That seems like, I don't know, it seems unnecessary, So Kevin Owens comes in the building, Shane stops him, and he says, you're not allowed in the building tonight. I'm having the town hall thing where people can air their grievances, but you're not allowed to come. You're disrespectful. You got to go. And Kevin Owens, he leaves, he listens, and he's going to come back.
In classic pro wrestling fashion.
Yeah, it's funny. I can't think of a time in wrestling where an authority figure kicking someone out of the building ever worked.
My favorite was, I think John Cena got fired and then was never gone. Like he got fired like 1 week, then the next week he was just back. And the next week he was just back. And the best pro wrestling trope is if you get fired, you just keep coming back, and you'll piss them off so much that they'll rehire you.
It's the George Costanzo effect.
That's it. You're rehired, so you can work for us again. And it's just like, you got me. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And I don't know how you felt about this opening segment, but I just it's strange to me that they're just doing Stone Cold. Well, like it's weird because I like Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
And anything to get him, in the spotlight is okay with me. But it's just so weird that they're doing Stone Cold, including the Stunner, with no twist or anything. It's just like
it's very obviously Stone Cold.
Yeah, and like there's nothing wrong with the Rebel versus the Authority thing, but this is just Stone Cold with no twist on it, and it kind of makes me feel like they're just like, well, we're going for a younger audience. Maybe they don't know Stone Cold. What if we just did it again?
I was kind of wondering the same thing. It's reminiscent of like, and I know Stone Cold's been around still, but I was saying the same thing to like with Christian the other day here, and we were talking about how they're going to be making Batman again, and I said to him like, man, they could at least wait like, I don't know, like 10 years,
Yeah.
10 years, 15 years before they do another one, you know, like they should have like some kind of time between. And he was like, well, it has kind of been 10 years since they've done like a solo standalone Batman movie. And I was like,
that's true.
Oh, whoa, you're right. So if me, as a huge Batman fan, didn't even realize it's been 10 years, I feel like you can repeat Stone Cold again.
You can repeat Stone Cold again, but I think that where it crosses the line is that they just gave him the stunner.
Agreed.
And it's like, okay, like, because, you know, they did, CM Punk was the rebel guy, and they tried to make Roman the rebel guy. I don't mind that. It's the fact that they're just like, what if we just, like, did the same exact thing? And then he did a stunner, too. And I kept waiting for them to be like, you know, a KO twist on it. But no, it's literally just, like, it's kind of like the new Lion King. They just they just redid it again with a different face.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was talking to Roka about this last week, and we had a kind of a longer discussion about just wrestlers just taking such iconic finishers from yesteryear, and how like I personally do have a problem with it. Not like a problem with it, like I'm like, a problem with it. Yeah. I just mean like deep down inside, kind of like you're saying, I go like, it's a little too derivative. Like you know, like it's obvious, like it's very clear what you're trying to do here.
Like a couple years ago when Dolph Ziggler just was Shawn Michaels, like he just had the hearts on his tight and he just started tuning up the band, and I kept waiting for him to be like, oh, but there's a twist on the gimmick. But no, he was just like, my gimmick is I'm Shawn Michaels.
Or when they had like Becky Lynch for a minute, she was using the rock bottom because she's for the people, you know? And it's like, okay, we get it, you know?
And I guess, you know, this is a larger conversation, but that's a sign of the bigger problems of WWE is that they had a huge success in the past, and instead of, you know, moving forward, when the times get tough, they're like, what if we just did that again?
It's true.
And, you know, they hired Paul Heyman, they hired Eric Bischoff, and times are changing, but it just seems to me that whenever the WWE, as I'm saying this, I'm remembering that next Monday's Raw is
the reunion.
And it just feels like whenever the times get tough, they're like, let's try that thing we did in 1998 again with someone else. And again, Kevin Owens is fantastic, and I think if you're going to put someone in that role, it might as well be someone who's good at it. But I'm waiting week to week to see what the twist is.
Yeah.
And with the WWE, there usually is not a twist.
I do think on the Raw reunion thing, we're going to get some kind of moment with Stone Cold and Kevin Owens both hitting stunners on Shane McMahon or something. We'll get to those stunners later. Let's first get to the town hall part.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we go into the town hall afterwards. Shane's in the ring. All the SmackDown wrestlers are on the stage. And then he basically says that he's willing to listen to any grievances the wrestlers may have. Says, who wants to go first? There's 2 microphones there, and no one's going up. But then, of course, the big dog comes in first. Big dog comes up, and he says, Shane, I don't think you get it. Nobody in this room respects you. And as far as diplomacy goes, you can kiss my ass. Shane says Roman's going to be fined later. Deal with you later. I liked Roman stepping up first. He's the locker room leader.
The less Roman says, the better. It was a little funny because Roman went like a 3-week period where he wasn't on SmackDown. So when he stepped up the mic, I was like, oh yeah, Roman Reigns is a SmackDown superstar. But yeah, there's a very specific way to do Roman, and like I said, the less he says, the better. And he's really good at just like being really like short and emphatic, and be like you said, like appearing like the locker room leader. So I had no problems with this. And
yeah, you're right too. He did this. I've noticed a slight tweak on his character a little bit lately,
sure.
where he's trying to go less tough guy and more like cool guy.
Yeah,
you know, like 'cause even on Raw, he did that little wink at like Kayla or whatever. He did kind of like or whatever.
I remember when they were first pushing Roman as the single guy, they went too hard into the cool guy. He was like he did that sucker's thing, and he like went to the camera, and it was like, but you're like a massive Samoan man, you're cool, but you're not that kind of cool. This is like, you know, he knows he's Roman Reigns, he knows who he is, and he's like, I don't have to listen to Shane McMahon, and that. They're like so close to nailing Roman.
They're so close. They're right there. Yeah.
And like people want to cheer for him, and he came back from being sick, and it was like, this is awesome. And then people were like, but please just don't do that again. And
you know what his problem is? Not his problem. What the problem? What I see as the problem is he has never really had, in my opinion, like that one opponent. You know, like
Yeah.
the one that you
Yeah.
remember as like, that's that Roman Reigns feud where Roman Reigns came like, he's good, he's solid, but I can't think of like that
They
one, you know?
they got so close with Braun Strowman, where
True.
they were just killing each other, and Braun Strowman threw the chair in Roman's face,
True.
and then he tried to murder him with an ambulance, and I was like, this is so cool, but then they just kept having Braun Strowman lose the match.
True.
And it was like, okay, and then that stopped, and I was like, that could have been the defining. And then the other problem is people were like, wow, Braun Strowman like rules, like he should be the man.
Yeah.
So it was almost like too good of a feud where they were like, we love Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, and they're like, no, you love just Roman Reigns. But it was like that to me was like back in the dark days of Roman Reigns. I was like, man, maybe he is like the man. Like maybe this is cool. And then it just ended. And
Yeah,
then it
you're
was
right. No, you're right, actually. That's a good point. Braun Strowman was a good feud between the two of them. But at the end of the day, you're right. I think it really did more for Braun at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because
and then they noticed that and they were like, we gotta
we
pump the brakes on him being popular. When he was just going around like killing people with parts of the set, it was like, wow, he's like a comic book monster. And they were like, no, he's a lackey for, I think, Dolph Ziggler or someone. I was like,
lackey for everyone for a minute. He just went back
I'm a
heel.
lackey.
It was weird.
Yeah.
I do hope that with Heyman at the helm now that we're gonna get back to that. I feel like if anyone can get Braun back to like that cool.
well,
Apex.
going through the set with Bobby Lashley was like the coolest thing they've done in months.
Totally.
And they had that cool camera angle, and I was like, the WWE is cool again. And then it just like wasn't the next week. But that's wrong.
Although this week was cool though.
Oh yeah, no, this was a good episode of SmackDown.
Yeah, this was a good episode of SmackDown.
I don't know how much Eric Bischoff was involved at all.
I don't think he was.
Yeah, that's the thing. Every week, I feel like when something good happens, people are like, thank you, Eric Bischoff. And then like the report comes out, it's like, Eric Bischoff will not be starting until next week.
Thank you, Eric Bischoff, and he's just sitting home petting his
He's
dog.
like, you're welcome. Eric Bischoff is very happy to take the credit.
Yeah. Okay, so the next, after Roman, Shane calls Charlotte Flair to the mic. Okay, so this is where I started to love this segment. One of the reasons I enjoyed this segment so much overall, because I really did think they did a good job of like the heels kissing ass to show that they're heels and doing things that heels should do to get ahead. And I feel like the faces were doing good things to like get their characters over too, because Charlotte comes up and she complains about, you know, makes her sick to her stomach that Kevin Owens would take advantage of his kindness. And then Liv Morgan hits the mic. And I also like, one of the other things I liked is how they played off of Kevin Owens's Twitter post the other day where he used all the pictures of everyone not on the pay-per-view. So I like,
Kidman.
yeah, with Billy Kidman and Vladimir Kozlov.
They all should have been up there.
But Liv Morgan was one of the ones on there. So I kind of like that Liv Morgan stood up as one of the only girls that was on there, one of the few girls that was on there. And, you know, she approached the mic. She accused Charlotte of being a phony and got a little bit of mic time. Shane cuts her off and they go back. Now, they didn't book the match there, but we'll see them later. Buddy Murphy gets up to the mic next, which was good.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Buddy Murphy since he got called up to SmackDown.
Best kept secret.
Best kept
That's
secret.
not a joke. He's really good.
He's really good.
They should put him on TV a lot more.
And you know what? I really, really, really liked how he was used here because I felt like, you know, they easily could have gone the route of like him complaining that he hasn't been used on the show and, you know, going and kind of siding with Kevin Owens. But instead, like a heel would, he was like, no, boss, totally good with everything you've been doing. In fact, I want to help you more and beat that guy up.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, I feel like they've gone so deep into the realm lately of people being like, I'm not being used right, that the best heel moves to be like, I am being used right. The WWE is smart and know what they're doing. Like, we've all seen that over the years, they've turned WWE into the bad guy.
Totally.
And to have someone be like, I think the TV show is good and is doing good, people are like, boo, no, it's not, the show sucks. And like, that to me is smart. I don't know how smart it is to like point out to the audience that the show sucks, but the way they used Buddy Murphy specifically was very smart. I like that you gotta have if you're gonna have a heel authority figure, which the law apparently states you always must have.
WWE law does state this, yes.
You gotta have those like slimy crony employees that are like, I think this regime is good. I'm happy. Like I love the transformation of the Revival into like just like
corporate,
they're like wearing watches and stuff, like,
necklaces now
because they're like thriving in this terrible environment
because they've friended Shane McMahon.
Exactly. And I think that's like I think strangely enough, this episode, what it did really well was world building.
That's what I thought too.
Which is not modern day WWE's strongest suit. I felt like there was like a real locker room with like a thriving community, and they like people had factions and cliques and stuff. And I was like, that's the WWE I want. I miss when they like would walk in the back and they'd walk past people like arguing.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Like the WWE like video game cutscenes where you just like walk. Like I miss that WWE, and this felt like that. It felt like there's actually. I feel like it's evolved to where you just assume they go in the back and like fall into a dark hole and that's it.
Yep.
I like that this felt like there's an actual roster of wrestlers who care about the show and care about their careers and want to do stuff.
I always say that to Roka too, that like one of the things that I enjoy about wrestling is when they can make the backstage area feel like a part of the show.
Yeah.
You know, like when it's almost its own character, kind of like Sesame Street, you know, like where it's like there's things happening
like
everywhere. Yeah, exactly like Sesame Street, learning life lessons. But I did learn a lot of life lessons watching wrestling. But anyways, and also with Buddy Murphy, you know, I liked with him that, like you said with the world building stuff, you know, if Buddy Murphy, when he comes out later with the whole pack of dudes, if he had just been one of those dudes, it wouldn't have really made sense.
That's always the most depressing role.
Yeah, when you're just there and no one's explained why you're there. Because even like the Authors of Pain were part of that mob at the end, and you're like,
why?
Where
have you been?
And the only thing I could think of was, well, Shane thought, well, those guys were, you know, if I'm trying to make explanations in my head, was that they were also in Kevin Owens's Twitter post, but they're bad guys. So he was like, hey, come with me type thing, you know? But I will say that I just like that because of this, it made sense for Buddy Murphy to be there at the end. And it'll make more sense for him to be booked.
You got the sense that there are people in the back who support Shane McMahon, there are people who don't. So when the Shane McMahon army came out at the end, it was like, okay, these are the people who are happy with the way SmackDown is and are mad that Kevin Owens is complaining about.
Correct.
All I ask is for simple explanations for things in WWE that make it make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, totally.
I don't ask much of WWE.
No.
And they give me even less back a lot of the time. But sometimes all it takes is a simple bit of storytelling.
Yep.
And this was surprisingly subtle and good.
And it wasn't even, you know, it's funny, a lot of times when they do these opening segments, they set up like the main event. This set up the whole show because then next you had, you know, what's it called? We got Apollo Crews come up next, and then Zelina steps up and they start talking shit. It's set up later in the night. Elias strums his guitar, starts doing his whole thing. Big E cuts him off, and then that whole thing kind of like gets set up for later. So, and they all kind of go backstage. It's over at that point, and then Cesaro, I liked when Cesaro comes out and he starts talking. He's like, "Wait, dude, you're not even on SmackDown." You know, he's like, "No, I'm on Raw." And then he says he wants to wrestle Aleister Black. So we get the Aleister Black rematch, Aleister Black versus Cesaro. Good match, just as good, I think, as the pay-per-view match.
It was like a best hits version of the Extreme Rules match. It
Absolutely.
was a little bit more heavily favored towards Aleister Black, but I mean, I love both those dudes. Both when they were in the ring, it felt like real. Like you know, like a lot of WWE matches feel like a WWE match, and then when you see a match that feels like, oh my God, they're like hurting each other, like that to me is what Aleister Black and Cesaro felt like.
Absolutely, definitely. Actually, man, that spot. I also like they played it off of the spot, but that spot from the pay-per-view where Aleister Black jumped off the ropes to do the Meteora, and Cesaro caught him on his shoulders and then tossed him up and did the uppercut. That was insane.
I don't know why this is like the Braun Strowman situation we were talking about before. Why do you ever have Cesaro say more than 4 words? Have that man come out and lift Braun Strowman over his head because he can do it. You know he can do it.
Yep.
And the crowd will go nuts. That man does stuff that's like inhuman, which is kind of what you want from pro wrestling. You want the people to feel like they are not human. They are larger than life. And Cesaro, when he talks, especially with his mouthpiece in, you're like, this guy's kind of a goober.
And he's got the braces too, because of when he got him like up into his teeth,
his like went into his face. Brain.
Exactly.
But first of all, I love the little touch that his mouthpiece still says the bar.
Me too.
It's really nice. I noticed that during the match, and I rewound it. And I was like, oh.
I did the same. I didn't rewind it, but I definitely went, oh, when I saw it.
Oh, Sheamus. But they just need to have that man come out and do one freaky thing every match.
Yeah,
They can do it. It's insane.
It's frustrating because I agree. It's obviously the microphone stuff that holds him back, and I agree with you. I don't need him to talk. I don't need every wrestler to have great mic skills.
Again, they want The Rock and Stone Cold again, and those dudes could talk for a half hour, and you'd be like, yeah. Like, keep screaming at each other. But eventually, they have to wrestle, and some people that's how they get over.
Yes.
And I will never forget the WrestleMania Battle Royal when Cesaro threw
Big Show, right?
Big Show, who I guess
Big
was
Show,
still
right?
wrestling. This was like 6 years ago. Yeah, it was Big Show, and he was like this massive reaction, and like I was like, that man should never say a word again. And then he came out, like I don't know if it was the next night, and he like counted the ring ropes wrong. He was like, these 3 ropes or something, or these 3 sides, and I was like, there's 4 sides, Cesaro, learn your geometry. And for years after that, he didn't do anything. I just think there's some people on the roster who are better served coming out, kicking ass, and then going to the back.
Well, it's funny too because that's why he's always put in tag teams because they always pair him with someone who they deem as like more charismatic on the mic. Sheamus, Jack Swagger, Tyson Kidd.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they did it with Aleister Black. If they were like, they're a tag team now, and I'd be like, that's badass as hell, but I don't want to see it. Like
yeah, we can't stick him back in a tag team right away. I hope that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Aleister Black wins the match. I loved the finish too. That black mass where he has the
thing comes out. Yeah. It reminds
out.
me. I feel like back in the day, people always used to have gum in their mouth.
Yeah, all the time.
When I was a kid, I was like, "Oh, tooth! That's
Always.
the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life." Yeah,
I still fall for that.
It was very old school, and I appreciated it. And you can tell, Cesaro's a trooper. He'll come out and just like get his ass kicked, and it makes Aleister Black look like the coolest man alive.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think right now, Aleister Black, after weeks of looking like an idiot, just sitting in a closet.
Did you hate all those?
Oh my god, I hated it so much.
Come, fight.
Because it would always be followed. It would always be followed by someone just coming out on stage and getting into a match. And it was like, just do that, Aleister. Leave the closet. Get out of that back shed you're in, and just come out. And Shane McMahon will put you in a match. It's like, it's cool in paper, him being like, come find me and fight me. It's like, that's really cool, man. But you literally work for a wrestling company. Your job is to fight people. Just put your name on the board.
Yeah, Jamie, my co-host Jamie, his whole beef with it was like, Aleister Black never explained where the room was. Yeah. So it was always like, why isn't anyone fighting? Like, well, you're not saying where you are. You're in some nondescript room.
You're in Bray Wyatt's old promo room. There's smoke everywhere.
We don't know where Stardust's weird room is anymore. He's not here.
It's in parts unknown, and nobody knows where that is.
Okay, so then next, Dolph Ziggler lobbies Shane McMahon to let him track Kevin. We missed. Duh. I left out the best part of the town hall. My apologies. Cesaro comes in and says that. But then when he turns, when we come back to the ring, he turns around, Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens is now in the ring and hits Shane McMahon is the worst stunner known to mankind. Okay, so, it was like worse than Linda did back in the day.
That's not true. So here's the crazy thing. I don't think for a second that they did this on purpose.
No way, no.
But what it reminded me of immediately was, do you remember the first stunner that Stone Cold ever hit on Vince McMahon?
Where it was kind of tough, yeah.
And he had to
Yes, I do actually.
And I was like, oh, cool.
Cool little throwback.
Completely unintentional. It really was just Shane McMahon flopping to the ground. I guess it does suck to get kicked in the stomach, but it's the simplest move in the world, and he somehow messed it up. But
yeah, I always think about that when someone doesn't get hit with a stunner well. I'm not a wrestler, but I've seen Stone Cold hit enough stunners to where I feel like if someone hit me with a stunner, I would know how to sell it. Or could.
I know. It's a very hard thing to mess up because you just, bleh.
I mean, I guess bouncing off your knees isn't the easiest thing.
I'm not saying it's easy because I would walk into a wrestling ring and just shatter both my knees immediately. I would pull a Vince McMahon, slide into the ring, tear both my ACLs. I'm not saying anything in the WWE is easy, but it's just of all things, it's like botching an RKO. You just fall on your face. But I will say it was a nice little reminder of that first stunner on Vince McMahon, and I was like, it had a sloppy feel to it, which is, I don't know, it didn't look good.
No,
I don't want to say that it was cool, it looked good, but
no.
I don't know, it brought back a little bit of nostalgia.
But they covered for it.
Yeah,
because he goes down and Kevin Owens picks him up and then
he was like,
no.
And the crowd still loved it. It wasn't they were boo, you messed up.
I mean, the crowd is WWE audience will never not cheer for a stunner.
Again, this goes back to your original point. They're doing the Stone Cold thing again. And if they can do it good enough, it does work.
It does. I mean, people love the stunner works. It's one of the best.
People loved seeing someone come from the crowd when they. Honestly, the reason they keep doing the thing where someone gets kicked out of the building and comes to the crowd is because it's always hype as hell. People
Yeah, it's
like,
great.
he came back.
Yeah, he's on a Zamboni. Oh my God, it's
Exactly.
so slow, but this is awesome.
They said he couldn't come back. They told him he wasn't allowed in the building.
How
Now he's
did
in
he
the
find
building.
his way back in?
And I will say, I'm guilty. I was like, he's back? No way. I thought he was fired. Like, the formula works.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wish the WWE could find another formula.
Hey,
But while they're doing it,
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
You don't need to fix it,
but it is pretty, bro.
So then we had Aleister Black versus Cesaro. Then backstage, Dolph Ziggler lobbies Shane McMahon to let him track down Kevin Owens so that they can wrestle later in the night. Shane agrees. Then we get they're talking about how Daniel Bryan later in the night is going to he's going to make some huge announcement later in the night. So then we get Charlotte Flair versus Liv Morgan. Quick match. But I do think, quick match. I feel like Liv Morgan did what she needed to do to kind of stand out as a singles wrestler.
Yeah, I actually really like Liv Morgan. She reminds me of Jeff Hardy.
You know what? That's such a good comparison.
She's like a very ragdolly, like, you just like, I feel bad for you, but I still kind of somehow feel like you're holding your own. Like, it's just like when Jeff Hardy, like this match reminded me of like Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker, where it's like, there's no reason why Charlotte Flair shouldn't win in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Because like Charlotte Flair has been built up to be this like.
She did win in 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, but you were like, you still kind of felt like Liv Morgan showed enough spirit where it wasn't like a squash.
Yes.
You were like, that was a match. Liv Morgan got her ass kicked, but it was still a match, and it had a very Jeff Hardy.
It's funny. I never thought about it, but she does have that vibe to her, the multicolored kind of thing, attitude kind of thing.
But who knows if that's gonna stick around?
Yeah, I'm wondering. So after the match, she loses, and then she goes over to the announce desk, and she takes the headset, and she takes it from Graves, and she says, "Charlotte was right. When I come back, I'm going to be real." So teasing obviously like a repackage of sorts. I'm wondering if we're just gonna get more of like the Jersey Liv Morgan that we saw when she was still like in NXT, like the Gianna Daddio kind of thing, when she was like yo yo yo, when it had like the yo kind of music and stuff.
I really hope not. I don't know what that meant. I'm intrigued by it. I kind of like her character now.
I did too.
I maybe it just means that she's gonna try harder to win matches. All I want from WWE is a little bit of intrigue, and I was kind of intrigued. And they got me in one match. They got me interested in Liv Morgan, who hasn't been on the show in months and hasn't been without the Riot Squad in years. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to know what she means by being more real. So
Yeah, it intrigued me too. I don't know what it's gonna mean, but I was also intrigued. I hope it's not like 5 months before we see her or something like that again.
That's the thing. Remember what's I don't even
Mojo?
remember. Like, I knew exactly what I meant. He was in the back with like his face all like X-men'd up, and he was like, and now
they're using him in online videos that are like shot during the commercial.
So I hope she's on the show next week.
Yeah, I am 100% with you. Like maybe some sort of like hype thing where she's like getting, she's doing something to kind of like get back to her roots or something. Because I was confused because correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Sarah Logan on Raw this week or maybe last week? She was on Raw recently, and she also still had the Riot Squad music. And I was thinking to myself, why are they still using the Riot Squad music? So when she came out and she saw the Riot Squad music, I thought to myself, the shakeup was like months ago now.
Shakeup does not exist.
Yeah, you could have found music by now for Liv Morgan. So I was a little like frustrated at first, and then I was like, oh,
they're getting past it.
They're getting past it now.
But I hope, like you said, I really hope they don't go back to that thing she had in NXT, because it's basically just Carmella. First of all, she would just be Carmella. And second of all, I like her vibe now, and I don't want them to like revert her back to what she was in developmental. I think she really came into her own as part of the Riot Squad, and I'd like to see her sort of. I don't want to just compare to Jeff Hardy, but it's kind of like how Jeff Hardy was still Team Extreme Jeff Hardy as a singles person, but he, did his own thing.
Yeah.
He wasn't still a tag team wrestler. And I don't know. I think Liv Morgan's going to have a very Jeff Hardy-like trajectory in a perfect world.
I think you're right, too. Let's just hope she doesn't have, like, that weird blue face paint like Mojo Rawley next week.
Or, like, get arrested for drugs.
No. Bayley and Ember Moon versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. We had, okay, so short match. Wow, it was 1 minute and 35 seconds. Crazy. Which I'm kind of surprised considering they've been pushing Mandy and Sonya so much. Then Kayla Braxton comes in the ring, asks Bayley who her challenger will be at SummerSlam. Bayley's pretty rough on the mic here, I thought, in my opinion. She does this long,
Bayley still feels like she still thinks she's in NXT where people just be like nuts for everything. So she does these like long, like waiting for the crowd to cheer, and the crowd just like, say it. This whole segment, I don't know what vibe they were going for, but it felt off. And
it was a little cringy in my opinion too.
Weird, yeah. And like she just, I don't know.
Ember being like, yeah.
And I was like, okay, now turn on her.
That's what I would have liked.
I was like, okay, do something. And then her music just hit, and Ember Moon is still just like, title match. And Bayley's like, title match. Like, it just, I don't know, man. I we've talked about this a lot out in the office, but like, I just really want the WWE to like tell stories again. And all of its main roster all of its title feuds are just like, you want a title shot?
Let's do it.
Yes. And it's like, why? I don't care. Like,
especially with the way they've treated Ember Moon lately. Like, she's kind of just been like getting beat up by Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. We were saying the same thing. What is her character lately?
Why does she have red eyes? Is she a werewolf? Is she what is a warrior goddess?
And why, if she is, why does she play video games so much?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I don't think anyone whose nickname is the warrior goddess should be like, thanks for the title shot.
Me neither.
Then, like, hopping around.
And then like pulling out her Switch backstage and like sitting in the corner.
Like, the Eclipse is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life, but that your character can't be, I have a cool finishing move. Like,
I completely agree.
She comes out, her entrance is so cool, and then she's just a person with red eyes. And it's like, why do you have red eyes? What's your deal? And it just, I don't know, they build to these pay-per-views where all the stories are like, I kind of want that title. And they're like, I respect you, but I want the title more. And it's just like, I don't know, none of these people feel like they should be fighting at all. And it's just like, why should I care if the characters don't really care that much?
Totally. No.
Although it is the one positive is it is a fresh matchup. It's not.
Agreed.
It's not, Charlotte versus Becky Lynch for the.
Agreed. But I don't need like I would prefer a better story than a fresh matchup.
Yeah. No. 100%.
You know.
And I don't know what vibe they were going for, but it was not achieved.
Especially for SummerSlam.
Yeah. This is like your second, third. Not counting the Saudi Arabia shows, which are the biggest shows of all time, but it's the second biggest show of the year.
As good or better than WrestleMania.
Yeah, equivalent. I just want some. The word is feuds, and none of them feel like they're feuding. They just feel like we will have a match at this date.
Absolutely.
Like, see you there.
Yep. No, totally. And I hope they amp things up in this eventually.
We'll see. They have when's SummerSlam? Like a couple of weeks away?
It's like August 10th, 11th, something like that.
Oh wow, yeah. So
still got a few weeks away.
Hopefully something happens in between.
Agreed. So then we got Nakamura doing a backstage interview. Ali approaches him, just says, "Just want to say congratulations, champ." Did you like that?
Okay. The match itself, if they have a match, that's dope. They're awesome.
Fresh matchup, yep.
I kind of, I thought it was cool that Shinsuke said chaos because people would be like, oh my God, that's the thing from New Japan.
Totally.
But the exact same thing I just said, Shinsuke Nakamura won the IC title because he walked up to Finn Balor and was like, I want that belt. Now he's the champion. Ali walks up and he's like, they've been doing vignettes for weeks where Ali's like Batman in the streets. And he's like, I will fight for justice. And then he just shows up and he's like, you want to have a match? And that's going to be the start of the feud. And it's just like, how hard would it be? Shinsuke is such like a great slimy heel. He's so good at being like a cartoon villain. How hard would it be to have him in doing something nasty? Ali shows up like the superhero that he's portraying him as.
Nice person guy.
How hard is that to do? I feel like the Intercontinental title has turned into like, it only starts with someone doing a backstage interview.
You can only get an Intercontinental title shot if you interrupt someone's backstage interview.
It's like the opposite of the 24/7 title. There's a very short window, and if you're the first person to walk up, boom, you're the #1 contender. It annoys me so much because that was the start of the Finn Balor and Nakamura feud, and now he's the title, and it starts the exact same way. It's just like, I don't know. I sound like a crazy person because I have like the same complaints about everything with the WWE. Like, I just really want them to. They have 30 writers.
I agree with you. They very much could have done something to make this a little more flashy.
It's not like they have like 7 hours of TV time a week. Like it's not like it's not like they have literally their own network.
I think that I was a little as much as I'm hyped for the two of them to wrestle because it is a new fresh match.
Well, how did you feel about this moment between them?
Same way as you.
Okay.
I literally felt the same way as you. It was like, wait, you just did this with Finn Balor and Shinsuke Nakamura. My only thought was that they thought to themselves, well, we don't need like a few weeks ago they thought to themselves, well, we don't need Bray Wyatt to have a title. So and he's gonna beat Finn Balor at SummerSlam. So let's take the title off Finn. But do we want it on a heel or a face? Well, we want it on Ali, but we can't have Ali beat we can't have Ali beat Finn. So let's just do this, and this is kind of like their easy way around. We get dropped to Nakamura, and then at SummerSlam we get Nakamura and Ali. Ali has the title. I agree with you though. As a start to things, is lazy.
Yeah, and again, exactly like we said before, they have like 4 or 5 weeks, and the feud itself is exciting. I think it's gonna be dope, and they have time to turn it into something other than. Let's do it at SummerSlam. Like we'll see. I with all things WWE, I'm like, well, they still have time. They still have 2 weeks. It's the go home show. Maybe they'll do something cool. It's the pay-per-view.
Oh no! Now it's at 8 o'clock and it's over.
It'll all reset after this pay-per-view. WrestleMania is in 4 months. But we'll see.
I still haven't gotten used to the switch of pay-per-views starting at 4.
Oh my God! Oh, I'm from.
And you're from the East Coast, so it's even weirder for you.
So it's so weird getting home after work and Raw has started already. I don't like it. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it was a life changer when I finally figured out how to like watch streams of Raw on the internet because otherwise I used to just never be able to go on social media before.
It's annoying, yeah. And the weirdest thing was WrestleMania because WrestleMania was over at like 8 o'clock. And I was like,
it's great.
I guess I could. I guess this is my night now. I guess that's cool.
That's why with I try not to ever complain about time stuff like that because people in like the UK are like, F you.
My God, yeah.
F you,
Pay-per-view
bro.
ends at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, we're like up in the middle of the night watching Raw.
And it's just never worth it. It's just like I stayed up to see something cool.
And it also explains why UK fans are so passionate. They're like, bitch, we stay up till like early to watch this stuff.
Respect. Like give them a pay-per-view every once in a while.
Yeah, totally. Give the UK people a pay-per-view for God's sake.
I'll stay up. I feel bad for them. Or I guess I'd wake up early. Whichever
it is, we'll do it. Give them something.
Exactly.
So then next we had New Day come out. Big E and Xavier Woods. They basically all three talk about all being champions now. And basically they didn't care what Daniel Bryan and Rowan were, or Daniel Bryan was getting announced, so they came out first to kind of like interrupt him. So then Daniel Bryan comes out and he just glares at New Day with a microphone in his hand, and then he turns around and walks backstage. And then they're like, what? They're like all confused. They're like, you're not gonna say anything? And then Daniel Bryan comes back out like a minute or two later, stares again, looks really intense, then walks back. They're confused. Same thing, comes back out, only this time he drops the mic. There's like a mic drop without saying anything. And I loved when Xavier Woods said, how are you gonna do a mic drop without saying anything, like all loud?
Yeah.
And then Daniel Bryan goes to the back. So we still don't know what his announcement is gonna be. Then Samoa Joe comes out to talk shit. Then Elias comes out next, which
Why is with theme music?
I was just gonna say that. You hear the strum so much that we don't even recognize his theme music.
Yeah.
And he's like a main character on the show.
It's funny. Like, why not just do the strum at this point? Because
it's more recognizable.
You heard like no reaction. People were like, oh, like, is this a new character? No, it's just Elias.
100% thought it was a new character walking out. Was very confused. And then Randy Orton comes out. Good old RKO, and then, more shit talking. Randy says he's not going to do the 6-man. They goad him into it. Then they have the 6-man match. The 6-man match ends with Randy Orton hitting the RKO on Kofi Kingston, pinning him for the 1-2-3, which I feel like is a good sign that we're going to be getting Kofi Kingston versus Randy at SummerSlam. I like it.
Yeah, out of the three, out of Samoa Joe, and I feel bad because Samoa Joe is just the man.
I know.
I love Samoa Joe, but like, there's only so many times I could like see him cut the best promo and then just lose.
I know, it sucks.
Like,
they got to give him one title run. It's just he always gets there at the wrong time.
Just have him win something. Like, it's crazy, but he's a little dead in the water. Elias, major title opportunity at SummerSlam, not quite. I mean,
I could see it, but it wouldn't. It doesn't excite me as much as Randy Orton.
Yeah, and Randy Orton is when Randy Orton wants to be Randy Orton, he's still pretty great. It's just a matter of Randy Orton cares, and he seems lately to be like really revived and like enjoy what he's doing. I think he went through a patch where he was like didn't want to be a wrestler anymore, and he works well with Kofi Kingston. Now he does, not back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and it's fun to see those the roles are reversed with that. Only this time Kofi's champion now. I like that.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I've been really enjoying Kofi Kingston's title reign.
Me too.
I kind of love that he is excited to be champion. I feel like that's a lot of times in the WWE, it's very obvious that the title is a prop for the feud, and it's just being passed from person to person. That's what I love about the New Day, is that they're like so excited that they're champions, which I think all wrestlers should be.
Yeah.
And Randy Orton is such like a good like buzzkill. Across from that, and I think that feud has a lot of potential. Again, like everything at SummerSlam, it's looking that way. All the feuds are cool.
Yeah.
And they're cool
on paper for sure. Yeah.
On paper, yeah. And it's a matter of what they do with it. And if next week they do another tag team match, and then the week after that they do like a 2 out of 3 falls match, and we watch X pins the X champion happen 2 more times, and that's the feud, it's like I won't be surprised. But like, I don't know. I feel like SummerSlam,
there weren't any 2 out of 3 falls matches last night.
There wasn't. And
I noticed that. I was thinking that to myself when the show was over. I was like, they didn't. And I think they don't need to do it as much on SmackDown because they have the commercial break sometimes where they can show the match. But still, I noticed that last night. I thought to myself,
how did they get around it? Did they just not have matches during the?
No, because I think sometimes they had the box, they do sometimes, or they just did like their old school way of life,
which is
totally fine.
Please just wrestle during the commercial.
Yeah, there was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I remember the first time they did a 2 out of 3 falls match. It was on the show where they did Braun Strowman and what's his name going through the wall, and I was like, whoa, a random 2 out of 3 falls match. This is the best Raw ever. And then like the next week they did another one. I was like, why? What's going on? And then they came out that they didn't want to wrestle during the commercials, and it's just so sloppy. And if they want to quietly do away with that, then they have my full support. They never have to explain why they're doing it. They never have to explain anything. Just start wrestling during commercials again, and let us never speak.
Yeah, I'll never say anything of it again if you guys do that. I'll pretend like I'll
the 2 out of 3 falls era.
I'll forget it.
Is dead.
Yeah. So then we had Carmella and R-Truth backstage. R-Truth's hiding in a washer machine. Said somehow he doesn't know how Kane used to do it. And then I love where Carmella suggested he go to Comic-Con, and he said, "Don't call me a con. I did my time. I did my community service." But I hope they do a thing with him going to Comic-Con. That would be funny.
Oh, 100%. If they had like a 24/7 title thing at Comic-Con, like that's what it should be, man. They should. I remember when they first started doing it, it was just people running around like Scooby-Doo, and I was like, that's a little funny. But it's become such a like unique thing that is like you told me like a month ago that my favorite part of the show every week would be R-Truth and Carmella running away from Drake Maverick. I'd be like, what?
Me too.
In what context is that happening? But yeah, it's like made to to do stuff outside the arena, which is something that WWE has been missing for a long time.
I actually think it might lead to Drake getting to wrestle, because on 205 Live last night, I guess, I haven't watched the whole show yet, but I guess he snapped and he beat up Mike Bennett.
It was really good. I
saw the clip on Twitter.
I very rarely watch 205 Live, but people were like, you got to watch it. I did, and it was a really impressive segment. I wish there was more.
Oh, so you watched last night's?
I only watched the segment. And it was really, Mike Bennett was really impressive. I don't know when he just became CM Punk. He looks, sounds, and like his manner. I watched the segment. I was like, if you close your eyes, you're like, CM Punk. But it's just a really impressive segment. And I hadn't realized until then that Drake Maverick hadn't wrestled.
The only time we've seen him wrestle is when he challenged for the 24/7 title and lost in like 1 second.
Yeah, I hadn't realized that. And if they smoothly transition him into like an actual wrestler, which he's very good at, he's just an all-around very talented dude.
Well, I saw he did a promo too in the show after that, and where he said like, "You have to wrestle me."
I think they're
gonna wrestle next week. I hope that they let him wrestle for real.
I know,
and not like that R-Truth match.
I know, that's like the danger of it. You feel like they've turned him into such a punchline, which he's so good at.
Yeah, he's great at it.
He's so good at it that it's like when he announces a match, you're like, God, I hope it's not like a joke. Like if they have like a real 12-minute match, perfect. And I really hadn't realized that he had not wrestled since he's been on the roster.
Yeah,
he's just peed his pants.
And you know what? When he was spud in Impact, he had that time where he wasn't like wrestling regularly, and it built up to like that cage match against EC3. And then it was like really serious, and that's when he had like a real good serious turn. That was like a really good match. So I don't know. I think they can get there with him. So I'm excited to see where they go with it. Okay, so we also had, we're getting run out of time. We're getting low on time, but
speed round.
Yeah. Well, this is easy to speed through here. We had the IIconics versus the Kabuki Warriors. I just want to say that as much as I rolled my eyes at this finish where they just rolled out of the ring and left, even though it's classic heel stuff. Because I did want to see a match between these two teams. Like I was excited for that. Billy Kay is just so entertaining.
Oh my God, I love the IIconics.
Yeah,
and I think this is the way they had to do it, because there's really no realistic scenario where the Kabuki Warriors like don't like just like rip their spines out of their.
Fair.
Like they had to do something to keep the titles on them. But yeah, they're the kind of people who turn nothing into something.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I appreciated that.
They're like the R-Truths of the female division, where they can just make it entertaining.
Exactly. And I was like you said, I was mad, but mad in like the way they intended, which is.
Me too. We're like, I wanted to see them wrestle. Heels.
Which is not always the way. It's usually like Vince McMahon.
And then next, another short match: Andrade versus Apollo Crews. 55 seconds. Really not much to say here. Andrade wins. Oh, sorry. Apollo Crews wins in 55 seconds by surprise. My only gripe here was that like they did the exact same thing with Cedric Alexander on Raw with like the surprise underdog victory like that. So I thought it was a little too much similar to that. But at the end of the day, like Apollo Crews getting a win is good.
I like Apollo.
And if he's gonna get more TV time, great.
Yeah, I wish he had a personality of some sort. I wish there was a reason for him to exist, but he's super good at wrestling. And
I feel like he has more personality if he was given an opportunity.
Well, that's what I mean. I
also think he'd be better as a heel.
I remember when he was in Titus Worldwide, which, rest in peace, Titus Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Exactly. It was so. I was like, they're giving 3 people that aren't on the show. That is a gripe for like 5 months ago. But yeah, I think whenever he's given the opportunity, he's like a really, really likable guy, and but he just sort of comes out, does his incredible stuff. He's like the opposite of Cesaro, where I'm like, just give him a little something. I'll ask for a little something.
Just give him a little thing.
Yeah,
just let him do something. Yeah. I agree. I like Apollo. I hope that they're going to start using him more.
Disagree about something.
No, that's what Roka's usually here for. That's why I have Roka on the show. We disagree usually on everything on the show.
Fair.
Yeah. Then we got Kevin Owens versus Dolph Ziggler. It was what it was. They wrestled for a little bit. Then Shane McMahon leads this big posse out. We had Nakamura, B Team, Drew McIntyre, AOP, Shelton Benjamin, Buddy Murphy, Andrade. Murphy. I had Andrade next, and I threw them next to each other. Elias, Samoa Joe, and Cesaro. Ziggler hits the zigzag, but it doesn't matter. And then Owens hits the stunner. Also, a bad stunner, that the sell of it, not his, but the sell of it was like, what the guys? And Dolph's like the best at selling. I was like shocked.
Yeah, of all people, of all people, I thought he'd do the backflip.
Me too. He'd rock sell that one.
I don't know. Maybe when the only constant is Kevin Owens, maybe it is Kevin Owens' stunner. I don't know how you do a bad stunner, but
if you can land, my whole thing is always like landing on my butt without fear.
Yeah, when he did one on the floor, I was like, I don't know if I would agree to
that. Would hurt. Yeah, that would hurt. And then they pull. There's a whole thing. Shane pulls Kevin Owens out. Owens then gives another stunner to Shane. This one was better. You could tell Shane wanted redemption.
This was the one on the floor, too.
Yeah, this is the one on the floor, but would have hurt, like we just said. And then he just hightails it out of there. You can tell everyone chases after him, and you can tell that they like kind of had a few minutes to spare. They're like, oh shit, we gotta waste time.
They keep doing that.
Yeah, I know.
And I feel like if I was on the productions end, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the rules of network television are. I'm not really well versed in that. But to me, it almost feels like it would be better if they went out of time. Like, not obviously. Like they
overtime or undertime?
Like they can't go overtime, but it would almost feel better to me if in the middle of all that they went long and the show had to end. Than for it to end 2 minutes early and then for them to be like, like and then the things they do.
Because you're right. I like the whole chaotic vibe of him running away. If it had just ended with Kevin Owens running out of like, we gotta go, everyone, blah, that would have been great.
That to me feels like a better show. It feels like, this is chaotic and they're running. There's wrestlers. Shane McMahon is coughing for some reason, and but the things
check our social media to find out who got him. That's all you gotta do.
The things they do to fill the time never work.
It's usually a promo with one of the McMahon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just like, and the crowd is like waiting for like a climactic moment, so the crowd's always super quiet, and then like they always have to hit someone's music randomly. It's just it's so awkward, and that's the end of your show. Like that's what's gonna. Like,
this one was awkward because it was Shane going, what was he saying? He goes,
he's gonna pay.
He's gonna pay. And then he shoves a woman.
Does he?
Well, because he didn't like shove a woman, but like he had Kayla like sticking the mic in his face, and he was like, yeah, and like shoved her arm out of the way, and I was like, well, don't do that. That's a girl.
Becky Lynch took the end of days, and anything's possible these days. Shane McMahon's shoving women all over the place.
I was actually surprised more people didn't point that out on social media. Like, I don't think it should have been like an outrage thing, but I was like, whoa, heel maneuver there.
I didn't even notice.
He definitely.
I think I thought the show was.
I also liked in some of the moments where Drew McIntyre was just very much in the background, like not carrying in a lot of the shots of these big groups of people.
Drew McIntyre is another one who should like never be a lackey. Like that man, he's just a Viking man. Like,
he's like more powerful than all those guys put together.
Exactly, yeah. And so I kind of get the vibe that he's like kind of getting over
being the lackey,
Shane McMahon, and he's gonna have a big moment, hopefully.
I like the way you think. All right, we're done here, everyone, but thank you for watching. Vinny, where can people find you on social media?
I am at Vinnie Mancuso 1.
Oh, yeah, it's right there on the screen if you're watching on YouTube.
Right there.
And you guys can find everything that he does at Collider as well. There's lots of good stuff there.
Also visit Collider.com.
Collider.com. We got to plug that, so at least if I get in trouble for bringing him in here, I'm like, hey, no, we plugged Collider a bunch. And you guys can find me. I'm at Ryan Satin on social media. It's at Wrestling Sheet for the site and all the shows. ProWrestlingSheet.com. That's where you can find all the top stories in the world of professional wrestling throughout the week. YouTube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. That's where all the videos are at. If you're listening via podcast and you want to watch our faces while we talk about these things, you can do that. YouTube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. While you're there, make sure you like and subscribe. Leave comments. I read them all. I respond to the good ones, but I do read them all. So please leave them there. And if you just want to listen via podcast while you're driving or working out or cooking or doing whatever, just go on your favorite podcast platform and search Wrestling Sheet Radio. All right, that's it. We're done. Officially tapping out for now. Until next time, stay out of the dirt and keep your eye on the sheet.
ProWrestlingSheet.com